Welcome to More Action, the podcast for entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals. I'm your host, Shelly Bryan, and together we have candid conversations with industry leaders to uncover valuable wisdom and lessons learned. My hope is you use these lessons to intentionally take more action in business and life. I hope you share and enjoy. Great to have you back here on another episode of More Action. And today I want to talk about signs that your self-care has maybe gone too far. And if you have been around the show for a while, you know I am a huge advocate for all things health that are related to you and how you can show up better, feel better, especially be able to perform better, whether it's in your job or your role, your leadership position, just you with your community. And I think that there are times where I have seen, not only in myself, but others, where that self-care has met that tipping point and actually gone over the top to where it's doing more harm than good. And I wanted to dedicate this episode to this because I know we're kind of getting towards the end of the year here. I know we're all going to be making those New Year's resolutions. We're all going to be thinking about all these things that we're going to tack on as like a checklist that are our self-care as we go into the new year. And so I wanted to do this now so that you could think about this and make your New Year's resolutions, your health goals, your self-care goals with a little bit more intention. So I hope that if you haven't been following along with me on Instagram or LinkedIn, I hope you are there now. You will see I always sprinkle in a little bit of business, leadership. We're going to be having some really incredible guests on, but I will always bring up health because I have a really great story and I think it should always be shared, and we all do. So let's get into defining self-care. I'm going to talk about some of the red flag behaviors that come with that. Of course, I'm going to be sharing some personal examples, and then I'll talk about how are we going to create a better self-care plan, and then optimizing that plan, and just really what I hope for you to take away from today's episode, which I've already queued you up here in the beginning. So self-care, just by definition, is the practice of taking care of yourself by doing things that make you feel good physically and mentally. Okay, so it's like the act of resting, recharging, reconnecting in ways that are both intentional and authentic to you. You're going to hear that come up a little bit more throughout this episode. Both, obviously, I'm always about taking intentional action and lots of it, but staying authentic to you. And I know that word gets overplayed. Honestly, when I say it, I cringe a little bit because I'm like, everyone has overplayed this authentic side of things, especially on social media. But self-care truly is yours, your definition. I've talked about you setting your own goals and what your success looks like. Your idea of success in business, in your career, in your life looks very different than someone else. That should be no different than your self-care plan or what self-care is to you. So let's talk about some of these red flags, because these are the things I want you to think about yourself. And even as parents or leaders in organizations, you could see this in your team. You could see some of these red flags in your kids, and it could be a great time to have conversation, provide additional training or resources. But the first one I will say is food obsession. So couple things I want to talk about here is that with food obsession, that's like withdrawing from events or being with others because there's nothing there for you to eat, right? Have you ever been like, no, I'm not going because I'm on this really strict diet, so then I'm not going to go out there? Well, this is going to get really challenging as we're hitting the holidays here, right? There's holiday parties, there's family events, there's all the things going. And your food obsession of either the lack of the food you can eat or maybe restricting yourself beyond healthy means could change your ability to interact with others. Now, another one when it comes to food obsession is, I don't know if you've ever been like, I can't start my day until I have a cup of coffee, or I can't make it through the day without the coffee, or I need my green juice, or whatever, is that you have this like, I can't do this unless I have X food and or X workout or pre-workout or all these different things. And you're really kind of unwilling to consider any other options. That is definitely a red flag that your food or your nutrition plan that you have for self-care is going past that limit of being healthy. Now, for me, I can tell you personally with food, because I've done fitness competitions in the past, I can eat extremely restricted. I can eat what I want. I am gluten free, but I eat pretty much anything. However, I can tell you there's been periods of time in my life where the self-care, the nutrition side of things was excessive. Like I was tracking it like crazy, my fitness pal. I wouldn't go over, or maybe I lied when I was tracking it just to make myself look good and the graph look good. These are obsessions that this nutrition plan is not working for you. And that's how it was for me. When I would be like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I ate at this time, I have 2 more hours, and then I'm gonna eat again. And then after that, I'm gonna eat again. But if I eat too much, then I can't eat this. That was just no good. And it took me a while to get through that. So I'm actually in the belief that like macros counting can become a type of a food disorder. So I'm not about it. I think it's more about understanding the foods that you need to be able to fuel your body to do the things throughout the day that you want to do. Plain and simple. That's my belief. I have other episodes on that, so I'm not going to go anymore here. Another red flag is exercise obsession. So you're pushing your body without rest, right? Maybe this is like you have an end goal of a workout or a weight that you want to get to or a strength that you want to get to. And you're pushing, pushing, pushing without rest. That's where you have to reflect and be like, okay, is it worth it as I age, as the things that I want to do? Is this really providing the self-care that I'm looking for? And even believing that there's only one type of exercise that is quote unquote, if you're watching me on YouTube, I'm doing the air quotes here, quote unquote, worth it. I know I've been there raising my hand over here because I'd be like, yeah, if I can't do some type of HIIT workout and get my heart rate up super high, it's not worth it. I'm just not going to do it. Like that's an exercise obsession, red flag. Absolutely. Another one is sleep obsession, right? So that's when we're being too hyper fixated on sleep that can ironically actually lead to worse sleep outcomes, right? Have you ever been like, okay, I need to get 8 hours. So then you like do all of these things to get your 8 hours, but then you're laying there in bed because you're already worked up so much that you can't fall asleep. The one that I literally do not agree with, and this might trigger some people, you might not like me after this. I'm fine with that, but I am not a fan of the Aura Ring. I know that there are a lot of people out there that love this thing. It's a great way to track. It's cool, and I do think it is a really, really neat technology, and I think there can be some benefits. However, it needs to be trained and understood before we do. Because if I put a ring on my finger and go to sleep, and let's say I toss and turn for the night or whatever it is tracking. And I get up in the morning and I look at my phone and it's like, oh, you didn't sleep very well, so you should take it easy. Literally, we are letting a ring on our finger tell me that I didn't sleep well, so I'm basically going to have a bad day. Like, take it easy. That just there, I'm sorry, if you're like a high achiever and a high performer and you want to go do a lot of things, you have a lot of goals in your professional career, like letting that tell you how your day is, I don't think that's healthy at all. At all. Right? That's already setting the intention that your day you've already lost the day and it just began. So like the Aura Ring, getting that sleep obsession. I know there is someone else that I've mentioned. I listen to his show because I'm very protective on the podcasts I listen to, but I do listen to his show occasionally, and that's Alex Hormozi with The Game. And I remember him sharing a story once where he got the Aura Ring and he thought it was like so cool and he was obsessing over it. And he was trying to beat each night. He was trying to beat the sleep that he did the night before. And so it became this obsessive game that he was playing with himself, like trying to beat his sleep until literally one day he goes, "This is the most ridiculous metric to measure. Why am I putting so much pressure on myself to be like, okay, I got 7 hours of sleep. Now I want 7.5 hours." He was like obsessing over it to where finally he took the ring off and threw it away. He's like, "This is ridiculous. It's stressing me out more than making me better." So having a sleep obsession is definitely a red flag. And then comparison is another one. Thanks to social media, we feel constant pressure to do things a certain way. That's literally everything, which also includes self-care. That can not only cost you time and money, but it also creates like a situation where you are no longer practicing self-care that is authentic to you. There's that word authentic, right? I feel like I throw up a little bit in my mouth every time I say that. But like you are doing, we're looking at like all these influencers on social media, wherever it is, or maybe these high business gurus that will then once in a while share like, here's my self-practice, here's my self-care morning routine. And it's like bam, bam, bam. And we begin to think comparison that in order for me to be successful like them, I need to do all of these things. Well, that's like the most ridiculous thing ever. You're not to blame. I'm not to blame. I did this before too. It's just like the nature of social media creates that comparison. And then when we set high aspirations for ourselves and we see people doing the same that are maybe 5 steps, 10 steps ahead of us, we're like, oh, maybe that's the one thing. Having this crazy self-care practice is what will get us to that next level of success. So that comparison, if you find yourself comparing yourself to others, definitely another red flag. And I'm going to expand a little bit more on this like morning routine because I feel like this comes up more and more and more when it comes to self-care. It's like, right? It's like a checklist. Oh, I wake up, you hear the business guru or like the social media influencer go, "Oh, first I cold plunge, then I meditate for 30 minutes, then I have 10 minutes of journaling, 10 minutes of stretching, 30 minutes of movement, or maybe my workout. Oh, and then I love to read for 30 minutes. And then I make this like gourmet, nutritious breakfast. And then I shower for like 10 minutes and I'm good to go for the day. And then, only then am I good to start my day." Like, forget about it. It is so unrealistic. And it is a huge red flag if you're looking at your morning routine like a checklist. If it makes you feel worse at the end of it than at the beginning, something's got to change. Something is there. And I think the more and more you can be like, am I doing this morning routine because someone told me to, or because it puts me in a better position in my day? That is the question right there that you want to ask. Because if you're exhausted by the end of it and almost defeated to start your day, it's pulled back the reins, red flag. That's not where you want to be. So let's talk about, self-care a little bit. I'm going to provide you with like a few ideas on how you can really move forward so that you can make sure that your self-care hasn't gone too far and is serving the purpose that you want. So if you want to like optimize it, it doesn't require like a specific time every day or every week to be able to get there. The main idea is to have it be sustainable and consistent. Can you literally do this every day? And if you don't, right? I'm a mom, things happen. Maybe I sleep in. Maybe I read too long in the morning, whatever it is. So long that you can have the sustainability, the consistency, and the flexibility on occasion to have that self practice. It doesn't need to be so excessive and rigid to be able to serve the purpose. Because if you remember, right, it is by definition, self care is taking care of yourself to do the things that make you feel good physically and mentally. So if you don't feel good at the end, red flag. So make time like self care. Make time in your schedule that it allows you to block it off, but be flexible with the type of practice you're doing. For me, I have self-care first thing in the morning. I wake up an hour before anyone in my house. Do I love getting up in the morning early? I actually kind of do. As I get older and I'm doing more, it's a little bit harder sometimes. But you know what I crave is that hour alone of quiet. My self care looks like a cup of coffee and a great book in the morning. And then I actually split it up. So now I'm incorporating my cardio in that morning too, in that morning hour. So 30 minutes of reading, and then I hop on the treadmill for 20 minutes, take a shower, wake up the kids. That's what works for me, and I feel great. But there are days that I don't have time to read. That's okay. I'm okay to be able to move through that. Right. And so that's what I'm talking about with having like the consistency and the self care. And that's what makes me feel good. I don't know what's going to make you feel good in the morning. You need to know that. You need to know what fuels me up. If I'm wanting to learn a new skill, reading is a way that I do that. So I get really excited about it, and it helps me wake up earlier in the morning because I'm excited to read more in my book and to learn more. And that's scheduling. So that's my morning. My afternoons, when I can, I just set each week. For me, self-care is I love to go to the gym. I like to lift heavy. And so when I go to the gym, I want to have solid 45 minutes so that I have time to rest in between my sets. But I only go 3 days a week. So I look at my schedule each week, and my flexibility is when do I put that in? It's not like it has to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. When does it fit into this week? And then I make it happen. But the thing is to try new things. Try again. It doesn't work that way. Try something else. Remember, like as you evolve, so does your self-care and what it looks like. I mean, I will tell you this right now. Chris even has recently, Chris, my husband, if you have, again, I hope we are connected on social media so you know these names when I drop them. But Chris, we we're getting ready to celebrate 20 years married, been together 25. And I remember this when we were dating, is he played hockey. And just recently, in the last month, he picked it up again. He plays in an adult league and he's having a blast. That's his self-care. Is after we're on he's on the construction site, we're having all the meetings. It is crazy all day. He knows that 2 days during the week, he gets to go play hockey with his buddies. That's his self-care. That's authentic to him. Do I want to be cold in the ice hockey? Heck no. But he loves that. So that's what I'm sharing that for, is like self-care looks different for everybody. Another thing y'all know I do is ride horses. And I can feel when I need that time mentally for me to go be with the horses. So I will look at my schedule and I will block it. So no meetings get put on that. And then I'll go have my 2 or 3 hours with the horses. Is it as much as it used to be 15 years ago? Absolutely not. I think I rode every day 15 years ago. Now I am ecstatic if I get 1 day a week, and it's like the best week ever if I get 2. So it evolves with you. And as we kind of close up here, just remember self-care is important, but as professionals and business owners and leaders and parents, we need to be careful not to take it too far. Behaviors like, I talked about obsessing over healthy, quote, healthy food or perfect sleep, as well as other things like overtraining or doing the same workout routine that you did many, many years ago, can actually do more harm than good. And I wanted to tell you another thing before I just close it up here, is that when you reflect on your self-care, remember that like moderation is key. Where food is fuel, it doesn't have a label as this is a good food or this is a bad food. It's just food is fuel. We use it without labels, right? Understand proteins, fats, carbs, do a little research, learn. This is how you're going to make your self-care better. We listen to our bodies in terms of activity and exercise levels. And honestly, we find more joy in our self-care than we do defeat, because it's not a checklist. This is a way for you to reflect on you and invest in you. And another way for you to reflect on your self-care, whether it has gone too far or not, is when you use the word should to describe any kind of self-care, since that indicates a lack of authentic interest. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. When you start catching yourself, I'm giving you these little tips. These are little things that I use to figure out my self-care when I took it too far. Is that when I started, should was the one thing, and I've talked about this on other episodes, that how much I dislike that word should. So when we use that word should, ding ding, red flag. Is this really what I want to do? Does this really serve me? Because remember, your self-care is meant to improve your overall physical and mental well-being. And for me as a business owner, and I know those of you listening in, my self-care, I'm going to take it a step further, is so that I can perform better for those that I serve, right? So I can perform better for my team, my kids. I can be a better wife for Chris. So when I invest in my self-care, it's so that I can be better there. I can feel confident in my clothes. That is what self-care is for me. So I know that you guys want to also perform at such high levels. So I wanted to bring this up. Remember, save this episode, share it with a friend, share it with your group, that as you are planning those New Year's resolutions, or you are thinking about things that you want to do, make sure you first reflect on any signs from self-care that we talked about today where it has gone too far, and make sure that you continue to invest in yourself by taking more action.